Gentleman from Manassas.
Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1934 would have the Superintendent of State Police enter into an agreement with Immigration and Custom Enforcement to allow state troopers to be enrolled into a program known as the 287G program, which would allow them to do federal deportation detainers for criminal illegal aliens in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I move the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Gentleman from Arlington, Mr. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak to the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, we've had a series of immigration bills, and notwithstanding the gentlelady, Delegate Corey's comments about one of the bills, I think this is absolutely by far the worst bill that we're going to see here with the immigration. And let me tell you why. Well, take a look at the impact statement that came from our good friends at the Department of Planning and Budget. They said that according to the Department of State Police, the agency intends to use their own existing resources, which translates to meaning that they're going to use what they currently do. They're going to be taken away from those obligations. Well, let me take you back to 2007. We had a nearly identical bill that came through, and our good friends at the Department of Planning and Budget, they were a bit more comprehensive about what the impacts of this bill would be. They say, if an agreement is reached with the Department of State Police to enforce civil immigration laws, state troopers would be diverted from current duties unless additional resources are provided. The cost for each new trooper is estimated at $132,000 in the first year and $76,000 in the second year. But they didn't stop there. No, they didn't. In addition, they go on to say enforcing civil immigration violations could result in more inmates being held in local and regional jails. My jurisdiction of Arlington alone estimates that this will cost $648,812 per year in existing resources for the police. It'll cost even more for our Sheriff's Department to operate our jail. I would hazard to guess that if this law gets passed, you would want to talk to your own jurisdiction about what the cost with this would be. Now, you have a couple other choices. You can decide to use this within existing resources, but I don't think anyone in this chamber likes that proposition, to have law enforcement take away from their public duties of protecting citizens and enforcing this issue. So, Mr. Speaker, for those reasons, I think that we should reject this engrossment. And
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Manassas, Mr. Miller.
Will the gentleman from Arlington yield for a question?
I'd be happy.
Gentleman yield. Gentleman yield.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from Arlington maintained that he's concerned that if this were to pass, more mostly felonious criminal illegal aliens would be sitting longer in our jails. So is he insinuating that he would be happy if we did not pass this, so these felons would be back out on the street in the Commonwealth of Virginia?
I'm not saying that at all to the gentleman. I would say, and I think what gets people worked up about this issue is, and certainly makes me angry, is that we pick on poor people, we pick on people that need health care, we pick on people who are immigrants. And this kind of legislation sends a message to every immigrant, whether you're here legally or unlegally, that you're not wanted here in the Commonwealth. And no one's supporting having felonious people in the Commonwealth at all.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, this bill, well, first of all, I'd like to sincerely thank the gentleman from Arlington for categorizing this as the worst immigration bill. I was quite jealous that the delegate from Shenandoah had earlier gotten that designation. I am proud to have overtaken him in that designation on the toughest immigration bill here today. But, Mr. Speaker, unlike the earlier arrest bills, this is a bill that I would think the ladies and gentlemen from this entire body would agree with is a smarter and good policy for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Mr. Speaker, this is a bill that, depending on each individual agreement, whether it be with the locality or the state, goes after those illegal aliens who have committed the most heinous crimes in the Commonwealth of Virginia, Mr. Speaker. To be opposed to this bill, and the delegate from Arlington mentioned, he touched on this, to be opposed to this bill is to be okay with letting felons back out on the street who aren't even supposed to be in this country in the first place. Mr. Speaker, I would contend that I agree with the gentleman from Arlington and that this bill picks on the people that it's targeted at. That is, illegal aliens who have committed felonies in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I would agree with the gentleman from Arlington, again, that that is exactly who I want to pick on, and it's exactly who I want deported out of this Commonwealth and out of this nation, is those that commit felonies who are already here illegally in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I move that this bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading, Mr. Speaker.